Yuna pressed her face against the cold window of orbital station Kepler 7 and watched her world end in fire. The explosion tore through the docking bay like a hungry beast. Her family's ship, the Sweet Wind, vanished in a ball of white light that hurt her eyes. The shockwave hit the station a second later, throwing her backward into the wall. She could not breathe. She could not think. Her parents were on that ship. Her little brother Kian was on that ship. Everyone she loved had just died. The station shook again as pieces of the Sweet Wind hit other ships. More explosions followed. People ran past her, screaming in languages she did not know. The emergency lights flashed red and yellow, making everything look like a nightmare. Yuna stood up on shaking legs. Her blue skin had turned pale with shock. The crystal patches on her arms that marked her as Valerian flickered weakly. She had to get to the docking bay. Maybe someone had survived. Maybe Kian had made it to an escape pod. She ran through the twisting halls of the station. The artificial gravity kept changing, making her stumble. Sometimes she felt heavy like lead. Sometimes she felt light as air. The station's computer voice spoke in the common tongue, telling everyone to stay calm and move to safe areas. Yuna did not listen. She had to reach the docking bay. When she got there, she saw nothing but twisted metal and floating debris. The bay doors had been blown open. Only the emergency force field kept the air inside. Through the shimmering barrier, she could see pieces of ships spinning slowly in space. A hand grabbed her shoulder. She spun around and saw a station security officer. He was a Krathan with gray skin and 4 arms. "You cannot be here," he said. "This area is not safe." "My family," Yuna whispered. "They were on the Sweet Wind." The officer's face softened. "I am sorry. There were no survivors. But maybe someone made it to an escape pod. Maybe." "There were no escape pods launched," the officer said gently. "The explosion was too fast." Yuna felt something break inside her chest. The officer was still talking, but she could not hear him anymore. All she could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat and the hiss of recycled air. She pulled away from the officer and ran toward the force field. She did not know why. She just knew she could not stand still anymore. "Stop!" the officer shouted behind her. But Yuna was already at the barrier. She reached out and touched it with both hands. The energy field flickered and sparked. Her crystal patches glowed brighter as they reacted to the power. The force field failed. Air rushed out of the docking bay like a hurricane. Yuna felt herself being pulled toward the open space. She grabbed for something to hold on to, but there was nothing. The wind lifted her off her feet and carried her through the opening. In seconds, she was floating in the cold vacuum of space. Her emergency suit activated automatically. A thin bubble of air formed around her head, but she knew it would not last long. Maybe 10 minutes if she was lucky. She spun slowly as she drifted away from the station. Below her, or maybe above her, she could see the wreckage of her family's ship. Pieces of metal glinted in the light of the nearby star. She wondered if any of those pieces had been part of Kian's room, or the kitchen where her mother made tea every morning. The cold began to seep through her suit. Her fingers and toes started to go numb. She closed her eyes and tried to remember, her mother's voice singing the old Valerian lullabies. Something grabbed her arm. Yuna opened her eyes and saw a human face looking at her through a helmet. The human had kind eyes and was saying something she could not hear in the vacuum. He pulled her toward a small ship that had appeared beside her. The ship's airlock opened and the human dragged her inside. Air rushed in around them with a loud hiss. When the pressure equalized, the human pulled off his helmet. "Are you hurt?" he asked in accented but clear common tongue. Yuna stared at him. She had never seen a human up close before. His skin was darker than hers and his hair was black and cut short. He looked young, maybe the same age as her older cousin back home. Back home. But she had no home anymore. "I asked if you are hurt," the human said again. "No." Yuna managed to say, "I think I am okay." The human nodded and helped her remove her emergency suit. His hands were gentle but strong. She noticed they had small scars on them. like he worked with tools. "My name is Hyun," he said. "I was doing salvage work near the station when I saw the explosions. Then I saw you floating out there." "Yuna," she said quietly. "Are you from the ship that exploded?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. Hyun's face became sad. "I am sorry. I looked for other survivors, but there were none," Yuna finished. They sat in silence for a moment. The ship hummed quietly around them. Through a small window, Yuna could see the station getting smaller as they moved away. "Where do you want me to take you?" Hyun asked. The question hit her like a physical blow. Where could she go? Her family was dead. The sweet wind was destroyed. All their money and possessions were gone. She had no other relatives that she knew. Of most Valerians lived in the inner systems far from here. "I do not know," she said, and started to cry. Hyun reached into a compartment and pulled out a soft cloth. He handed it to her without saying anything. He did not tell her to stop crying, or that everything would be okay. He just sat with her, while she grieved. When her tears finally stopped, Yuna looked up at him. "Why did you save me?" Hyun seemed surprised by the question. "Because you needed help. But I am not human. You do not know me." "So?" The simple word confused her. Among her people, you helped family first, then clan members, then other Valerians. Helping strangers, especially aliens, was unusual. "I have nowhere to go," she said. "Then you can stay with me until you figure it out," Hyun said. "But you do not know anything about me. I could be dangerous." Hyun smiled for the first time since he had rescued her. "You are about half my size and you were crying 5 minutes ago. I think I can handle the risk." Despite everything, Yuna almost smiled back. Almost. "Thank you," she whispered. "You are welcome," Hyun said. "Now let me get you some food and a place to rest. You have been through enough for one day." As the small ship carried them away from the wreckage of her old life, Yuna wondered what kind of person risked their own safety to save a complete stranger. She had heard stories about humans, but most of them painted them as violent and unpredictable. This human seemed different. This human had caught her when she was falling through darkness. Maybe there was more to humans than the stories said. Yuna woke up in a bed that was not her own. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she remembered the explosion, the cold of space, and the human who had saved her. She sat up quickly, her heart racing. The room was small, but clean. The walls were metal, but someone had painted them a warm yellow color. There were pictures stuck to one wall showing planets and stars. A small desk held books written in human script. She was wearing clothes that were too big for her. A soft shirt and pants that smelled like soap. Someone had cleaned her up while she slept. The door opened and Hyun came in carrying a tray of food. "You are awake," he said. "Good. You slept for almost 20 hours. 20 hours. Yuna had never slept that long in her life. But then again, she had never watched her family die before. "I brought you something to eat," Hyun said, setting the tray on the small desk. "I was not sure what Valerians eat, so I kept it simple. Bread, fruit, and water." The food smelled good, but Yuna's stomach felt like it was full of stones. "I am not very hungry." "You should try to eat a little," Hyun said gently. "Your body needs fuel to heal." Yuna picked up a piece of bread and took a small bite. It tasted better than she expected. Sweet and soft. "Where are we?" she asked. "My ship, the New Soul. We are heading to Salvage Station 14 to pick up my crew." "Your crew?" "My sister Nari and our engineer Day. They were buying supplies while I worked on a recovery job near Kepler 7. Yuna nodded and took another bite of bread. "What kind of salvage do you do?" "We find ships that are lost or broken and either fix them or take them apart for materials. Sometimes we rescue people who are stranded." Hyun sat down on the edge of the bed. "Like you. Do you rescue many people?" "When we find them. Space is big and dangerous. People get into trouble." Yuna ate more of the bread. Her stomach was starting to feel less terrible. Why do you do it? Rescue people, I mean. Hyun looked puzzled. Because they need help. But it must be dangerous and expensive. Do they pay you? Sometimes when they can. Hyun shrugged. Money is not the most important thing. This confused Yuna even more. In Valerian society, everything had a price. Help came with expectations of payment or favors returned. Her family had been merchants because they understood this simple truth. But her family was gone now. I need to contact other Valerians, she said suddenly. Someone will help me get home. Hyun nodded. We can send messages when we reach the station. They have a good communication array there. 2 days later, they arrived at Salvage Station 14. The station was built inside a large asteroid. Ships came and went through tunnels carved into the rock. It looked rough but busy. Hyun's sister Nari met them at the airlock. She was taller than her brother and had short black hair. Her clothes were covered in grease stains. So this is our passenger, Nari said, looking at Yuna with curious eyes. Hyun told me what happened. I am sorry about your family. Thank you, Yuna said quietly. The third crew member was Dae, an older man with gray hair and laugh lines around his eyes. He smiled when he saw Yuna and bowed slightly. Welcome aboard, young one, he said. Any friend of Hyun is family to us. Family. The word hit Yuna like a punch. She did not have a family anymore. They went to the station's communication center. Yuna sent messages to every Valerian community she could think of. Her hands shook as she typed the words explaining what had happened and asking for help. The first reply came within hours. It was from the Valerian Council on Kepler Prime, the largest Valerian settlement. Yuna read the message twice before she understood what it said. What is wrong? Hyun asked. He had been waiting with her while Nari and Dae loaded supplies onto their ship. They say my family were terrorists, Yuna whispered. They say the explosion was justice for crimes against the hegemony. The hegemony was the military force that controlled most of this part of the galaxy. They were strong and feared, but Yuna had never heard of her family fighting them. That is not possible, she said. My parents were merchants. They sold cloth and spices. But even as she said it, she remembered strange things. Late-night visitors who spoke in whispers. Cargo containers that her parents would not let her see inside. The way her father sometimes looked sad when he read the news feeds. More messages came. Every Valerian community said the same thing. Her family were criminals. She was not welcome among her own people. If she came to any Valerian world, she would be handed over to the hegemony. Yuna sat staring at the screen for a long time. Hyun sat beside her, not saying anything. I have nowhere to go, she finally said. You can stay with us, Hyun said. I cannot pay you. I have no money, no possessions, nothing. We do not need your money. But why would you help me? I am nothing to you. Hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, my grandfather used to tell me a story. During the old wars on Earth, his family had to run from their home. They had nothing but the clothes they wore. A stranger took them in, fed them, helped them start a new life. That stranger did not ask for payment. What happened to your grandfather's family? They survived. They had children and grandchildren. One of those grandchildren is sitting here with you now. Hyun smiled. My grandfather always said that kindness travels forward through time. The stranger who helped his family never knew that someday his grandson would help someone else. Yuna felt tears in her eyes again. I do not understand humans. What do you mean? Among my people, we help family first, then clan, then other Valerians, but never strangers, never aliens. It is not practical. Maybe being practical is not the most important thing, Hyun said. That night, Yuna lay in her bunk aboard the New Soul and listened to the ship's engines humming. Through the thin walls, she could hear Nari and Dae talking quietly in the common room. They were planning their next salvage job. She had lost everything. Her family, her home, her people. But somehow, she did not feel completely alone. The next morning, Dae taught her how to operate the ship's scanner. It was different from Valerian technology, but not too difficult to learn. "You have good hands for this work," Day said, as she successfully identified a piece of debris floating near the station. "Steady and careful." "I helped my father with his business sometimes," Yuna said, checking inventory, running scans on trade goods. "What kind of trade goods?" Nari asked from the pilot's seat. Yuna hesitated. Now she wondered if everything her family had done was a lie. "Cloth and spices mostly. Sometimes other things." "Other things?" "I do not know. My parents kept some cargo containers locked. They said it was valuable, and I should not worry about it." Hyun and Nari exchanged looks. "Yuna," Hyun said gently, "do you think your family might have been helping people escape from the hegemony?" The question made Yuna's chest tight. "Is that what terrorists do?" "Sometimes people who help refugees get called terrorists by the people in power," Day said. "It depends on your point of view." Yuna thought about this. Her parents had always taught her to be kind to those who were suffering. Her mother gave food to hungry dock workers. Her father once spent his own money to fix a broken ship belonging to a poor family. Maybe they had been helping people. Maybe that was why they died. "If they were helping people," she said slowly, "then I am proud of them." "Good," Hyun said. "Being proud of your family is important, no matter what others say." Over the next few weeks, Yuna learned more about salvage work. She learned how to use tools, how to identify valuable materials, and how to safely approach damaged ships. The work was hard but satisfying. She also learned more about humans. They argued sometimes, but they always made up quickly. They shared their food without being asked. When Dai hurt his back lifting heavy equipment, Nari and Hyun took care of him without complaint. They treated her the same way. When she had nightmares about the explosion, Nari would sit with her until she fell asleep again. When she struggled with human tools that were too big for her hands, Day modified them to fit better. When she felt sad and did not want to talk, Hyun gave her space but stayed nearby. They were not her family by blood. They were not even her species. But slowly, Yuna began to understand what Day had meant when he called her family. One evening, as they sat in the common room sharing dinner, Nari asked, "Are you happy here, Yuna?" Yuna thought about the question. She was not happy the way she had been with her parents and Kian. That kind of happiness was gone forever, but she was not miserable either. She had purpose. She had people who cared about her. "I think I am learning to be happy again," she said. "Good," Hyun said. "Everyone deserves a place where they belong." Yuna smiled, and this time it did not hurt. 3 months after the explosion, Yuna thought she was finally safe. She was wrong. The New Soul had docked at Trading Post Gamma 7 to sell salvaged materials and buy supplies. It was a small station on the edge of civilized space, the kind of place where people minded their own business and did not ask too many questions. Yuna was in the station's market buying fruit for dinner when she saw him. Commander Vex of the Hegemony stood near the spice vendor, his black uniform making him easy to spot among the traders and spacers. His pale skin was marked with the ritual scars that showed his rank. 2 Hegemony soldiers flanked him, their weapons clearly visible. Yuna dropped the fruit she was holding and ran. She pushed through the crowded market, her heart beating so fast it hurt. Behind her, she heard Vex shout orders in the Hegemony language. Heavy boots pounded on the metal floor as the soldiers chased her. She reached the New Soul's docking bay just as Hyun was coming back from the fuel depot. "Yuna, what is wrong?" he asked. "Hegemony," she gasped. "They found me." Hyun's face went hard. "Get inside, now." They ran up the ship's ramp just as Commander Vex and his soldiers entered the docking bay. Hyun hit the control to close the ramp, but Vex was already shouting, "Human vessel, you will open your ship immediately. You are harboring a wanted criminal." Hyun activated the ship's communication system. "This is Captain Hyun Kim of the salvage vessel New Soul. What criminal are you talking about?" "The Valerian terrorist Yuna. She is aboard your ship." "I do not know anyone by that name." Through the ship's cameras, Yuna could see Vex's face twist with anger. Do not lie to me, human. We have been tracking her for months. She is the last survivor of a terrorist cell that was destroyed at Kepler-7. Even if that were true, Hyun said calmly, I would need to see proper legal documentation before turning over anyone to the hegemony. Vex laughed, but it was not a pleasant sound. Legal documentation? You are in hegemony space now, human. I am the law here. Nari had been listening from the pilot's seat. She turned to her brother with worry in her eyes. Hyun, we are not in hegemony space. This is neutral territory. I know, Hyun said quietly, then spoke into the communication system again. Commander, this station is in neutral space. You have no authority here. Authority? Vex's voice grew cold. I have 3 warships in orbit and 40 soldiers on this station. That is all the authority I need. Yuna felt sick. Hyun, you have to give me to them. I will not let you and your crew get hurt because of me. No, Hyun said firmly. You are part of this crew now. We do not abandon family. But I am not really family, I am just… You are family, Nari said from the pilot's seat. Family protects family. Day came running from the engine room. I heard hegemony soldiers on the dock. Are we leaving? As fast as you can get us moving, Hyun said. The docking clamps are still attached, Nari said. And they have guards at the station's control room. Hyun thought for a moment. Can you override the clamps from here? Maybe, but it will take time. Then we buy time. Hyun opened the communication channel again. Commander Vex, I propose a deal. You are in no position to make deals, human. I think I am. You want the Valerian, but you need her alive or she is no use to you. If you try to force your way onto my ship, people might get hurt, including her. Vex was quiet for a long moment. What do you propose? Give me 1 hour to consider your request. In return, I promise not to leave the station. 1 hour. Then, I come aboard and take what is mine. The communication channel closed. Nari immediately began working on the docking clamps while Day ran back to prepare the engines. What is the real plan? Yuna asked. We get out of here in less than an hour, Hyun said, but you promised… I promised not to leave the station. I did not promise not to leave the docking bay. Yuna stared at him. You are going to trick them? I am going to save my crew, Hyun said. All of my crew. It took 40 minutes for Nari to override the docking clamps. As soon as they released, she fired the engines and shot the new soul out of the docking bay so fast that Yuna was pressed back into her seat. Behind them, hegemony soldiers ran into the bay and started shooting, but they were already too far away. 3 hegemony warships, coming up from the planet, Nari announced. They are fast. How fast? Hyun asked. Fast enough to catch us if we run in a straight line. Hyun strapped himself into the command chair. Then we do not run in a straight line. Take us into the asteroid field. Are you crazy? Those rocks will, tear us apart. Not if you are as good a pilot as you always say you are. Nari grinned. Hold on to something. The next hour was the most terrifying of Yuna's life. Nari flew the new soul between asteroids the size of buildings, twisting and turning through gaps that seemed too small for their ship. The hegemony warships followed, but they were too big to maneuver as quickly. One of the warships scraped against an asteroid and had to fall back for repairs. The other 2 kept coming. We cannot keep this up forever, Day called from the engine room. The engines are running too hot. There, Hyun pointed at his scanner. That asteroid has caves. We can hide inside until they give up looking. Or until we run out of air, Nari muttered, but she steered toward the asteroid. They found a cave just big enough for their ship and shut down all systems except life support. Everything went dark and quiet. Through the cave opening, they could see the lights of the hegemony ships searching among the asteroids. Why are they trying so hard to catch me? Yuna whispered. Because you know something they do not want other people to know, Hyun said. But I do not know anything. I was just a merchant's daughter. Think, Yuna, Your family was helping refugees, right? Where were they taking them? Yuna closed her eyes and tried to remember. There had been strange conversations late at night, names of places she did not recognize, her father studying star charts of sectors she had never visited. There was a place, she said slowly. My father mentioned it sometimes. He called it the safe harbor. What is the safe harbor? I do not know. Just a name I heard. She opened her eyes. Do you think that is why they want me? Because I might know where this place is? It makes sense, Dee said. If there is a hidden refuge for people escaping the hegemony, they would want to find it. But I really do not know where it is. They do not know that, Hyun said. The hegemony ships searched for 6 hours before finally giving up and leaving the system. When Nari was sure they were gone, she powered up the engines and they left their hiding place. Where do we go now? Yuna asked. Far away from here, Hyun said. The hegemony will be watching every station and trade route for us now. I am sorry, Yuna said. This is all my fault. No, Nari said firmly. This is the hegemony's fault for being bullies. But now you are all in danger because of me. We were always in danger, Day said. Space is dangerous, the hegemony is dangerous. But running from danger is not the same as living. What do you mean? Hyun turned to face her. He means that some things are worth the risk. Some people are worth protecting even when it is hard. But why? I am not human. I am not even from your world. So what? Hyun asked. You are part of our crew. You work hard, you care about us, you make terrible jokes that make Day laugh. That makes you family. Terrible jokes? Yuna said, trying to smile. The worst, Nari said. Remember last week when you said that broken hyperdrive looked like Day's hair in the morning? That was a good joke, Day protested, running his hand through his messy gray hair. Despite everything, Yuna found herself laughing. These humans were strange. They risked their lives for someone they had known for only a few months. They called her family, even though she was a different species. They made jokes when they should be scared. But maybe that was what made them special. Maybe that was why her parents had trusted humans to help refugees. Maybe that was why the hegemony was afraid of places like the safe harbor. So what do we do now? She asked. Now we disappear for a while, Hyun said. Find some quiet. Places to work, stay away from major trade routes. Let the hegemony think we escaped to the outer rim. And then, Hyun smiled, but there was something dangerous in his eyes. Then we find this safe harbor. If your family died protecting it, we should know what they were protecting. How do we find a place that is supposed to be secret? The same way your family found it, Nari said. We help people who need help and we listen to what they tell us. You want to become refugee smugglers? We want to become the kind of people your parents were, Hyun said. The kind of people who help others, even when it is dangerous. Yuna looked at each of them. Yoon with his kind eyes and steady hands. Nari with her fierce loyalty and brilliant flying. Day with his gentle wisdom and terrible jokes. They were not her blood family, but they had chosen to make her part of their family anyway. And now they were choosing to risk everything to continue the work her parents had died for. Thank you, she whispered. For what? Hyun asked. For catching me when I was falling. Always, he said. That is what family does. 6 months later, Yuna finally understood what her parents had been doing. The new soul drifted in the shadow of a dead moon called Sanctuary Prime. On its surface, hidden beneath rocky hills and false sensor readings, was the largest refugee camp in the galaxy. How many people live down there? Yuna asked, staring at the scanner readings. About 50,000, said Jin, the woman who had brought them here. She was a former human military officer with short gray hair and scars on her hands. Humans, Valerians, Krathens, Zephyrians, even some escaped hegemony soldiers who could not stomach what their government was doing. All refugees? All people who want to live free, said Mira, Jin's partner. She was tall and pale with the kind of precise way of speaking that meant she was highly educated. Some ran from war, some ran from slavery, some just ran from governments that told them how to think. Yuna had met Jin and Mira 3 weeks ago at a remote trading post. The new Soul crew had been helping a family of Krathan refugees when Jin approached them. She had watched them work and decided they could be trusted. Your parents brought people here, Jin told Yuna as they prepared to land. Good people who saved a lot of lives. The landing bay was carved into the heart of the moon. As they descended, Yuna saw ships of every size and design. Some were sleek passenger vessels. Others were converted cargo haulers or small personal craft. All of them had brought people who had nowhere else to go. This place should not exist, Day said as they walked through the underground city. The hegemony should have found it years ago. They have tried, Mira said, but we have advantages they do not expect. She led them through streets lined with prefabricated buildings and temporary shelters. People of a dozen different species worked together, building homes, teaching children, growing food in underground gardens. Yuna saw human doctors treating Valerian patients. She saw Krathan engineers working alongside Zephyrian technicians. How do they all get along? Yuna asked. Different species usually do not work together this well. Shared hardship builds bonds, Jin said. When everyone has lost something, it is easier to understand each other. They reached a large building at the center of the city. Inside, Yuna found something that took her breath away. It was a workshop filled with the most advanced technology she had ever seen. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building devices that seemed impossible. What is this place? She asked. The heart of our operation, Mira said. We build the tools that keep everyone safe. A young human man approached them. He had oil stains on his shirt and excitement in his eyes. Mira, you have to see this. We finished the new shield generator. It can protect an entire convoy of ships from hegemony scanners. How? Hyun asked. We combined human adaptive technology with Valerian crystal matrices and Krathan quantum processors, the man explained. Each species brought something unique to the project. Yuna stared at the device. It was beautiful and complex, like a work of art made from pieces of a dozen different worlds. My people could never build something like this, she said. Neither could ours, the human man said. That is the point. Together we can do things none of us could do alone. Over the next few days, Jin showed them more of the underground network. There were safe houses on 40 different worlds, communication, systems that the hegemony could not crack, ships designed specifically for rescue missions. How did this all start? Yuna asked. Jin and Mira exchanged looks. With humans, Mira said finally. About 10 years ago, a group of human explorers found the first refugees. They were Valerians fleeing a hegemony crackdown on their homeworld. Most species would have left them to die or turned them over to the authorities, Jin said. Humans took them in, fed them, helped them find new homes. Why? That is what humans do, Mira said simply. They see suffering, and they want to fix it. Even when it is dangerous. Especially when it is dangerous. Yuna spent time in the workshop, helping to build new devices. Her knowledge of Valerian technology was valuable, but she learned even more from watching humans work. They approached problems differently than her people did. When a Valerian engineer said something was impossible, a human engineer would ask why. When told the traditional way was the only way, humans would ask if there was a better way. They did not accept limits just because they had always existed. Humans are strange, she told Nari one evening as they sat in the New Soul's common room. How so?